Like when I'm a sales rep, I do everything. That's why I was really good at it. Because I saw the risk of like that business providing me with just inbound. I saw that as a real risk to my livelihood. I think one of the key mistakes that people make in this sort of industry, which I think is actually leaking into all industries, to be honest, from what I've seen, is that like,
Where to begin? There's so many things, but just recently, or maybe not recently, maybe towards the end of last year, you moved on from seventh level. You sold your shares and back at Sales Sniper, kind of full time now. Is that
yeah,
sort of what
exactly.
you're up to?
Yeah, decided to kind of sell my shares and kind of move on. I felt like I'd probably reached, I think the end of the life cycle of like sort of what I wanted to do there. I think, there was sort of a bit of like, I didn't see, I think there was just a bit of a lack of cohesion of vision of where the business could go. Like, I think that business can get really big, and I think it should. It's a very good business with a very good sales kind of methodology. Um, but like as an owner, like the numbers that I ran, I don't think made sense to keep it with the model that it had. And so it would have required an awful lot of, I think, shimming and wargaming to figure it out. And so I was like, we're sort of, I think, going in different directions. And then from there, like I've been running it for 4 years. Like the average tenure of a CEO is two, because like, you sort of get to a point where you're like, all right, what next? And it's not like moving on to anything bigger or better. It's just sort of like at some stage you've got to pass the mantle, right? Like otherwise it just becomes an echo chamber of the same crap all the time.
Same thing. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense. And was it like a pretty easy decision to just dive straight back into building Sales Sniper again, or
I
did you
mean,
have other
yeah, I
options?
mean, easy, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I sold my shares, but I still need an income, you know,
Mm.
double isn't cheap, right? So, um, so yeah, I mean, like, it's a business that I like. The reason why I like this because it's sort of like you get to constantly grow things. And I think that's like where the fun is in business. I think a lot of people want scale, but scale and growth are very different. Like scale is like, you've really got to focus on different areas of the business in order to scale one. But like growth, you can sort of like head down, ass up, work your way through it. And I think, wow, yeah, I think that sort of 0 to 30 million. I think I've got a very good handle of how to get there. I've done it a few times now. I've done it like 3 times, 4 times. So I feel like I know what I'm doing in that respect. And I've got a good enough name in the space now to where like I can be super picky, which is a good position to be in. And so like, Sales Sniper never stopped. It never shut down. We sort of stopped talking about it. But that business never made less than 300K a month. I never even, like it's a good business. And it's a business that has just sort of always done well. Um, and I didn't even poke my head in for 2 years.
Yeah, yeah,
And when I came back, there were a lot of things that I wanted to change and make better and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the core product was there. I think it's better now than what it's ever been because, I've sort of learned so much along the way that now, um, the decisions that we make within side accounts and stuff like that, I think are really positive. And we're trying to create, a system that isn't just designed to make like really quick sales. It's designed to make sort of like long lasting sales and be a really profitable engine while it does it. And we have a really good in-house marketing team. Um, yeah, we've had it for a while, but it's been sort of refined. And I think that we have the best, marketing agency out there by a good way. Uh, and so we can come in and do the sales and the marketing for a business, and it's lucrative for us, and it's lucrative for them, and it's sort of cheaper than building an in-house, department, and much faster. I think there comes a point where it ends up becoming more expensive, but it's not until pretty significant numbers. Yeah.
yeah. That makes sense. And what are some of the things that you think might be a bit different now in your decision making, and what are some of the fundamental things that are still in place?
Yeah, so I think like because I've built a large sales team and kind of worked with a lot of sales teams, um, I think that like understanding what's going to happen, like I feel like I know what's going to happen, and so like trying to not do it in the way that necessarily is obvious, but do it in the way that's going to work like long term. And so just like making sure that there's a lot of catchment systems because I watched we grew seventh level, but we grew it really inefficiently there for a while. Just through like increased ad spend, increased book sales calls, which is just a really inefficient way of doing things. Well, no, it's just I think one of the key mistakes that people make in the sort of industry, which I think is actually leaking into all industries, to be honest, from what I've seen, is that like the marketing department has become responsible for like getting sales calls on the books. And that's really not what its job is. Its job is to create leads, and then the sales department takes the leads and figures out ways to create sales calls and SQLs from that. And so I think that that's led to like a really, really expensive landscape where people are just booking book calls. Um, and like that's crazy, like 'cause the moment that stops, like you're fucked. It's like they're not, you know, and it's like you don't have leads, you don't have an email list, you don't have like nurture, you don't have organic, you're not doing a Facebook group, and it's just you need like catchment systems in place that you can sort of go after for when like the adpocalypse comes every
Mm,
couple of years, like
yeah,
like
which is
the
inevitable
well, it's
for
happened a
most.
lot of times. Like iOS
Mm,
14, when that came, what are we on 16 or something now? When iOS 14 came, like that stopped all pixels, right? So that was a big one that crushed a lot of people. You had the Google Panda slap, like the Panda update in Google. That was in probably 2020 or something. I can't remember, 2021, something like that. Yeah, that was a big one. And just like and then like last year you had the like the Android and iOS updates that auto flagged spam calls and like voice numbers and stuff like that and sent them to voicemail, which kind of crushed everyone's pickup rates. And then from there, now you've got like the FTC just just did a ruling with real estate agents um, coming in on buyers agents fees. The FTC is also in the works with the insurance industry to stop age leads from being a thing.
yeah, right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't heard that one before.
Yeah. The
Interesting.
FCC in the US, which is like FCC and FTC are like our ACCC in Australia.
Mm,
So
yeah, yeah,
they're bringing in
yeah,
more laws around telemarketing,
yeah,
around dialing. People don't realize like every single state is different. Like you can't call someone on a Friday afternoon in Florida. You know, you can't triple dial people. You can't call them more than 7 times in 7 days. You can't call people on Sundays.
yeah,
Like these are federal guidelines that you have to kind of abide by, and nobody knows or really cares.
yeah. I was going to say, I think some people know that, but they don't really care, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, like with the FTC stuff, like you're sort of like they're quite passive in the respect that like they're waiting for someone to get flagged, usually by customers or by happenstance. Someone in the organization just happens to see the ads and not like them, right? But generally speaking, it's going to be from complaints, right? And so, but the FCC can work like algorithmically through software. So, like, if you're breaking FCC rules, like they know, like this, if you call someone, so the do not call list is FTC, right? The DNC, DNCO, whatever it is. That's an FTC thing, and it's like if you call people on that, you know, you don't really allowed to. But if your software doesn't stop it, then it's tough, And so, anyway, there's just lots of like things, and like what generally happens. What I've seen is like, and you've probably seen it too in different industries, is like people come make a ton of money, then the regulators step in, and we're at a time where the regulators are stepping in, right? So I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's a thing. But I think that, you know, people are going to start figuring this shit out and diversifying their marketing strategies, because like just getting book calls or having a bunch of 20-year-olds do outbound on systems that aren't meant for it without any knowledge or give a fuck about the rules, regulations, and laws in place, it's probably just not going to end well, because the interesting part about the FCC is that they don't need you to supply any evidence. They have it all because they're
They got it.
all
Yeah.
telcos. Like, hey mate, you did all these illegal calls. Oh, it's
Yeah.
like, here's the fine
It's
for each
just,
one.
yeah.
You know what I mean? You did
Yeah.
$497,000 that were considered illegal. It's a $400 fine for each one.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Solid.
give us our $12 million. But
It's
whereas the
fine.
FTC, at least you sort of have to go through a little bit of back and forth, and there's some subjective nature to it. There is no subjective nature with that stuff. So it's like, it just is what it is, you know? So
Yeah.
anyway, it's interesting. That's why like I'm building a solution for that. So it'll be ready in about 8 weeks. I've been working
Is
on
that
it.
the software that you've kind of hinted at the other day? I saw in your one of your posts. There
No,
was,
that's just
you
like,
built something, or is that different?
that's just like me fucking with people, building a really,
Yeah.
it's called Gecko boards. Anyone can do it. It's just, no
Oh
one
yeah.
knows about it. It's been around for a very long time.
Yeah.
But people always struggle with like data visualization, and it's like a 10-minute Google would fix your problem.
Yeah.
Like for real, it's pretty
Because it
funny.
was interesting when I saw it. Yeah. I
Well,
thought, wow,
I
this is.
really built one for one of my clients. Like we do the sales and marketing for them,
Yeah.
and I just sent him a text with like this dashboard. And he was like, "Holy shit, that's incredible!"
Yeah. What is it? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all real time, no lag,
Yeah.
because no Zapier, just APIs from
Yeah.
Google Ads, from Facebook Ads, and stuff.
Just go
And
straight in
so it
there.
has
That's
like,
awesome.
and also HubSpot. So it has all the revenue, all the sales, all the upcoming sales, where they come from, how much. Like I can tell you, there's this guy, right? They've spent 9,998 in ads. They've got 243,000 revenue months to date. $5.70 cost per lead, cost per conversion on Google. 470 MQLs. I can tell you where all the MQLs have come from by Meta and by Google, and how much is spent on each account. So like
220 rev on 9,000 spent.
240, yeah.
240. Wow.
Wow,
That's incredible.
I'm pretty good.
That's incredible. It was interesting. You mentioned something about the responsibility going on the marketing side, just to bring in calls and, for people selling that sort of stuff. Do you think, in terms of like where that flows onto, I hear this word all the time about having sales reps be a little bit entitled, with.
But I think that they're just not taught anything. You know what I mean? So like, I think that's like, it's the managers and the business's fault. Like if you bring someone in and their job is take book calls, then why should they do anything else? You know what I mean?
I think it's expectation, right?
I think if they want money, they should. And then like, it sort of baffles me that people don't take more charge over their income. But like most people are shit at their job. Like that's anyone. That's surgeons. 90% of surgeons are garbage. 90% of Uber drivers are garbage. 90% of salespeople are garbage. 90% of marketers are garbage. Like that's just anything. 90% of Fortune 500 CEOs are garbage compared to the really, really good one. Like, so it's just like, it's sort of like how the natural distribution curve of humanity goes, I think. Like when I'm a sales rep, I do everything. That's why I was really good at it. I didn't allow, because I saw the risk of like that business providing me with just inbound. I saw that as a real risk to my livelihood. And so I was like, well, I don't want to, like, that seems like if they just turn the tap off, then they own me, So I might as well have a system around where I'm like generating my own, and I'm like doing this and getting referrals and follow-ups and, getting inbound, but also getting like doing lead lists and stuff like that. Like I might as well do all that, because then like if they fuck up, at least it doesn't affect me that much, because I can just ramp up the other things. And I just don't understand people not doing that. To me, it's batshit lunacy. Like, I'm just like, but I mean, I guess maybe they just have a really high risk tolerance, or maybe they just never think about it and they just live life of an ignorant bliss. Like,
I think it's the latter.
Yeah.
I think ignorant bliss is pretty good. Couple that with like the expectation,
Yeah. If I'm an inbound closer and that's all I do, that'd be fucking terrifying. Like, because like you're booked out 3 days in advance. That's it. What, so leads go
Yeah.
down and you just, what, three days later you're broke? Like what happens? I don't, like, what's your plan? Oh, I just go to a
Mm.
different account. Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is pretty normal, you know, with a lot of
Takes
people
what,
offer
two,
hopping.
3 weeks to spin up, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. So like you
Then the
make
same
no
thing
money for
happens.
4 to 6 weeks, and like you
Yeah.
actually, and then like that's an inevitable life cycle. So like instead of like, because ad accounts go down, right? Like that just always happens.
Yeah.
So it's inevitable. So like, but it only takes a few weeks to fix and get back up, and you know what I mean. So it's like, why would you leave something that you know how to sell just because the ad? Like it doesn't make any sense. But it's so strange to me.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's what everyone does. I guess that's why it was so easy not to beat everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's coupled with like expectations that come in, and yeah, like you said before, you know, it's a bit
Yeah,
of ignorant bliss is good. When things are good, it's good. And then it's very reactionary what happens when, you know, sort of shit hits the fan.
yeah. I've just
Um,
never had an account that filled me up with inbound. So
mm,
like I always had to do an element of something or other to actually be as
something.
full as I
Yeah.
wanted to be.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but then, you know, things get squirrely and I just didn't really want to rely on like some random marketing person for my livelihood. It was
Mm,
just a bad idea. You know?
yeah.
So
Speak in control of what
yeah,
you know, what you can make, which is really cool. Cause you do, when you get on accounts, I know you kind of like to get hands on anyway, right? At the beginning, if you're building things out.
yes. Sometimes I'll hop on calls for the first week or two.
Yeah.
Um,
What are you looking for when you do that?
I just like to prove a point really. So usually I'll just close off outbound. Like book calls are a fucking myth. Like you don't need them for any account at all. Period. Whether it's a $400,000 offer or whatever, like you don't need booked calls, right? Like they just slow things down, in my opinion. So like if all you did was get like a lead list and like instead of working on optimizing for like booked calls, they worked on like a really high value and high intent like way of getting leads and creating like some like marketing nurture process and like having like a lead scoring system within the CRM. So like, you know, you reached out to people once they hit a 7 type thing. They downloaded this and they I think you'd get way more sales doing it that way. But there's no instant gratification, like you know. So like when I hop onto accounts now, like we don't do book calls at first. We only do leads, and then we do all the closers will outbound the leads, and then like just start to have conversations. But and then what we do is usually segment it into like there'll be one or two inbound guys, and then 3 or 4 guys just doing outbound closing. But that's even for like 25K offers. Like I've sold tons of 25K offers just calling people and selling them over the phone while they're in the car. Like it's no different. It's not harder. People think it is, but it's not. They're just like have never tried it. Like,
Hmm.
what benefit does
I
this?
think that's the thing. They haven't tried it. Like most of them, because they maybe not taught or not brought up. A lot of the accounts that I get on is like that. I'll pretty much do the same. I'll get on calls for the first couple of weeks and kind of see what the leads are saying and who's in there, like already existing.
Yeah,
Um, so it's interesting that I find interesting sometimes that they don't do that, or they can't find people to do that. You know, as well.
it's weird because if you have a look at like the time, like if you want to make the most amount of sales, then you wouldn't want to do book calls because like if you're gonna work for 8 or 9 hours a day, right, which no fucking salesperson does, like then you just sit in front of your CRM for 8 or 9 hours and you just go and find sales, right? You email, you call, you text, you do that, you know, yada yada yada. And for your first week, like it's pretty slow because like you're just sort of like making a ton of connections. But then like by week 2, like you know, you start sort of pitching, you know, 7 to 10 people a day. And like the fastest way to make more sales as an account is ask more people for money. Like that's it. Like let's just ask more people for money. So if we do that, it should be sweet. You know, and so that to me gives like an instant uptick, and then from there you can sort of start to strategize a bit more. But it's like when I went on to like say ClickFunnels because we do the mastermind
Mm.
sales moment for them.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
um, like I just for the first week, like I spent like 2 or 3 hours a day doing outbound. I made 7 sales. seven
Mm.
$25,000 sales just off outbound. And it was like, yep,
Yeah.
cool. Like that
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
be done. And so I was like, sweet. And then, it's just like, it's not that difficult. Um,
But you
and
kind of set the standard too, right, for what to
yeah,
expect, and
it would just make it way harder than what it has to be. But if you have a look at like the numbers, like they just don't really make sense for inbound a lot of the time. Like having the option for people to do it, I think is good. But as like the sole purpose of the marketing, I just think it doesn't make any sense. Like if you were to generate 1,000 leads and from 1,000 like leads, you called them all.
hmm.
You know what I mean? And like
Yeah, all right.
you had a 40% contact rate, so you spoke to 400 and you pitched 350 of them.
Yeah.
On like say a 10K offer, like you get 50 sales.
Mm. Yeah.
Like
So, yeah, the numbers are pretty good in that. Would you say that when you get into accounts, then, like if that's kind of the approach to it, do you get them to cut some of their spend, like right at the beginning?
I don't know about cut, but maybe like reallocate or something like that. It really
Mm.
sort of depends. I try and like just keep constants going. So like if things are working, don't stop doing them. But like, you know, um, like you want to kind of you need to sort of like there has to be something constant that you keep. So like I don't like to change a lot of things in the beginning. So I'll do like an audit and then go like, okay, these are like stupid things that are happening that we can remove or like do slight tweaks to. I like to do like process first, then activity, then skill. So like first thing is like find all the processes that are happening, and then from there, um, like fix the dumb stuff, just the really dumb stuff. Don't try and like, put your method or spin on it too much. Just be like, hey, these are kind of egregious ridiculousness. Let's just remove those from happening, and that will make a smoother way through. Then from there, it's like activity. It's like what's being done. Let's just increase the activity. Then let's focus on the skill sets. And then that way, it's like we try and go through like a series of like net positives um, that are going to be, um, yeah, that are going to make it hard for what's currently happening to stop, and make it easy for like upticks to happen without introducing variables that you don't really know what they're going to do. Yeah. So that's what the kind of the goal is. People tend to be very impatient, whereas like with sales, you sort of have to be patient because like there's so many factors that can affect it. It's not like marketing where you can be quite quick because there's a ton of instances happening. Like if you want to change a landing page and you want to wait till 3,000 people see it, it might only take a day. If you want to wait that same in sales, you might be waiting 3 months. So you're making changes with like much less data. So you've got to be like quite careful with how you do it because and like the changes aren't instant. So like if you change a landing page, the next person that sees it will have it. There'll be a difference, whether it's good or bad. But it's like instant feedback. Whereas when you've got sales changes, like you've got the uptake and the adaptation of it, and you've got like the ability to adhere to it. So you got the human element, which makes it so much more complicated. And marketing and sales, like they always try and work at the same speed, but they just can't. It just doesn't work
Mm.
that way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
I've seen it.
yeah,
Yeah, I see it a lot actually when people are changing the wrong things, in their business, and then there's too many variables all of a sudden, and then you don't know what's actually working and what isn't working. It's just like constant change, chasing that, instant gratification. I see that quite a
yeah.
bit.
It's funny. Like I work with a great business called Committed Coaches, um, and I was talking to the guy who owns it, Rudy. He's a really good guy. He's kind of having a little bit of a freak out about like the numbers in like the first week of April. He's like, what have we done? What have we changed? I was like, it's okay, man. Like, I was like, first of all, like April in every Commonwealth country, like the Good Friday and the Easter Monday or public holidays, we have a fair few people in all those countries. So like, we had probably 35 to 40% of our sales force not working for 2 days. days. Also, like the first 4 days of the month were a holiday. The first, and, and then we had the weekend. So like, if you look at the first 7 days, like you're only looking at 3 to 4 working days, right? So it's like, and then from there, you're like, also like Easter is, even in the US, it's kind of even in the US, it's a big thing, even though it's not a public holiday in the US, which is weird. Um, but you've got a lot of, there are still a fair few states that observe it as a public holiday for the Monday. And then California has got Cesar Chavez Day, which is a public holiday on the Monday, right? Which is 52 million people. Like what is it, like 20% of the US's entire population is in California? I was like, mate, I was like, like you've got to expect a 50% drop in revenue for those first few days. Like if you have a look at like any business, you have a look at any business and you have a look at how much money you do in California, it's always a huge percentage. Just because like Florida, California, Texas, New York, that's where all your money is.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably where in US counts that I work. That's
Not in
typically where.
North Dakota, I can tell you that right now. So, it's just population densities, So like you got to have a look at those things, and like if if I wasn't there, there would have been significant changes made to try and fix stuff. But it's like, no. And he's a really smart guy, been doing things for a long time. But like, people see revenue drops and they kind of go, and he's a marketer, right? So like, he wants to make instant changes.
You can make changes.
It's like, man, we can't do that because any change we're going to make is not going to do anything for us for a couple of weeks. And so you have to pull a lever and then wait. And it's like, yep. And as long as you've pulled the right levers and and you're like, that's the thing with sales is you kind of just have to be like, I'm doing the right things. That is literally all I can do. I just have to wait now for it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, crazy concept though. For a lot of people, I think it's a crazy concept. Where do you want to because you're taking bit more charge in the direction of Sales Sniper. Where do you sort of want to take it? Is it like a volume game or a quality type of growth that you want to have?
No, like I did the volume game before and it just wasn't fun. Like I think 6 really good accounts I think is like the right amount. Right now we have like 8, I think. Like it doesn't always work out, long term with all of them. So I think we probably have the right amount to have the right amount. I've got a few in the sort of pipeline that are waiting. And then what I'll do is like if those come on and they start producing money, then what I'll do is I'll probably shut down one, move everyone over to another one. Do you know what I mean? It's funny. It's like when it comes to accounts, like it's really hard to pick, and the size of the business like plays no role in what is like lucrative or not. It's really bizarre. Generally,
what is the thing?
It was like a perfect. I think like any business doing around 250, 300K a month is like the perfect size to start. Any less than that, it gets a little bit difficult because they don't have any budget. Any more than that, and I think like they have fairly entrenched processes and systems. And so it's just like for a done for you option, they're probably be better off going with like a done with you management offer or something like that, right? Because like I take shit over, so it's like.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you're full done for you, right? Like from start to finish.
Yeah. So it's just so yeah. So I think that 250 to 300K is like perfect, and then from there we can get it up to like 1 million or 800 or 900K a month or whatever like that, or wherever they want to go. But even if we like double it, get it to 500, it's a good, for Sales Sniper, that's going to be probably 125,000 US a month, per account with a decent profit margin on it to where like you have 6 or 7 of those and like it's a really good business that isn't super stressful to run and is like good profit and worth running. If you get it up to 15 accounts, there's no money in it because like you have to sort of have a lot of like back end operating expense then, like, you need tons of operating stuff like that. So it's like, I think we had 22 accounts at one point, 75 SDRs and all this kind of shit. So for me, it's like the call center that we're creating is going to be like the accounts that we have some really good account managers in place now. We have a really good pool of closers and our SDR system is fucking amazing. Like it books 150, 200 book calls per month per SDR, you know, and so yeah, like they're really good.
That's good numbers. You
Yeah.
mentioned about a call center as well. Is that part of
Yeah,
the?
so the SDR model, we're turning it into a call center model. So
Mhm.
that's like fully compliant and like it's a really massive enterprise level solution, which is why no one's done it. And so
Mm.
it'll tick a lot of boxes, but we're just going to be basically we're going to be like an SDR call center. So it's sdrcallcenter.com. The website
Oh
isn't
wow.
built
Okay.
yet, but that's what the call center is going to be
Yeah,
called.
that's what it is.
And then from there, people just pay by the hour. They pay like $20 US an hour and $5 per book call. That's it.
Wow. Shit. Okay. That's
They don't have
cool.
to pay for
So then
calls.
you'll have like the SDR team managing like basically whoever gets contracted to it, or is that kind of the
Well,
idea?
they won't even know who's doing the dialing. Like
Who's
it
doing it?
doesn't matter. Like
Mm.
they send the leads. We have a
Yeah.
team that calls them. They pay by the hour. So and
Yes.
they tell us how fast they want those hours to be made because I could put 20 people on and have them do 5 hours in the first day, and you would have your first day you'd have 100 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Right. So
True.
like if you say, yeah, I want to space it out over the course of a month, I'll be like, yep, sweet. And then I can ask
Yeah.
how fast do you want your speed to lead to be? And if they go like 10 minutes, I go, yep, sweet, I'll give you a 10-minute speed to lead.
Wow. That's really cool. How far away are you from getting this
About 9 minutes.
operational? Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. That's really cool.
We have a wait
That's
list
really
of like
cool.
35
How
businesses,
many?
like 35 businesses on a wait list at the moment or something.
Ready to go. Is there a criteria for the type of businesses that you would take on, or not? Not really.
It
Just
literally doesn't matter as long as it's inbound. Because like it's not a cold calling call center because
it's not a call. Yeah.
that changes all the FCC rules, and so it's
Yeah.
set up for inbound. So we have to be able to confirm that they're inbound leads.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you can do like a
Got it.
lot more. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
um, so like we're not buying like lead lists. You know what I mean? Like that's a different
Yeah. That's a
we,
different
we
thing.
can do it, but not right now. I don't want to deal with it right now. I'm gonna set up
Yeah.
so we can do it, but it's like it's just a whole thing. Um,
Yeah.
so, but like the rules on inbound, like you can call the do not call list and stuff like that. You just have to register. So there has to be
Yeah. Okay.
leads get registered and all that kind of shit. So which is fine, which I'm going through all that. Um,
Is that the software you're talking about? Like building the compliance around that as well, so no one can make those mistakes.
oh, the mistakes won't be able to be made.
Yeah.
And like
That's
even
awesome.
per state, like as soon as it's like 7 p.m. in Georgia, it won't call Georgia. As soon
You
as
won't
it's
be able to do it.
like you know what I mean, you just it won't. And our contact rate will be pretty high. I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm gonna. My goal is to get a 20% lead to schedule.
Wow.
So you send us 500 leads, I'll send you back 100 book calls.
100 calls. Yeah.
Right.
That's amazing.
That's sort of like my goal. It's obviously going to depend because like if it's like a super super low intent, like
Probably. Yeah.
they're trying to go to a 2 hour sales call, like that's probably not going to happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like for the average, like we've been sort of averaging that in the sales sniper accounts that I have my team in.
Yeah.
And so even like 27 on one of them. So which
Oh
basically
wow.
free, right? So it's like, send us
Yeah.
300 leads. So yeah, it should be a really efficient way of getting book calls in an environment where it's very inefficient. People don't have to worry about staffing. They don't have to worry about the software
Mm.
call. So like
Yeah.
I provide
Yeah.
all, and it's just for the hourly rate and the $5 per book call. So like, it's a pretty affordable solution, and it can be scaled up and scaled down. If someone starts sending a lot more leads, I can go, hey, if you want, like, we can do the 100 hours every week. They go, yep, and then so they just be on like an auto debit for
Yeah.
$1,000 every time 100 hours goes out.
That's awesome. Smart
So
model, I think, with the pay by the hour as well. So I've seen a lot of pay for performance style, which is you kind of have a hybrid of things, or they get a VA to do it, on a really low hourly, and then that's
yeah,
kind
yeah. I
of it.
mean,
But they
like
manage the whole thing.
these people don't have accents. They're all really good. They've been
Mm.
speaking English since the age of 3, and
Yeah.
we've been training them in our like hunter gatherer portal, like the old closing code portal,
Mhm.
for like 4 or 5 months now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like
Awesome.
600.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool.
So yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to it. That's sort of like what I see as like It's not a sales sniper thing. Like it's a separate venture.
It's a separate thing. Yeah, I was going to
Sales
say.
sniper will be utilizing it because it's just a
Yes.
better way of doing it. But that's just sort of my thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've wanted to
That's
do it for a
awesome.
very long time because there is no good solution. I just don't believe that like you hire like a 20-year-old, they don't fucking dial. You know,
Mm,
you pay them $3,000 a month and a couple of percent. Like it's fucking crazy. Like there's just not the margin in most businesses.
mm, yeah. Yeah, and then they don't get mismanaged and expectations not set properly, and they last for a couple of months and then they do it over again a couple of
Yeah,
times.
and you need like a manager for them, and it's like by the time you look at the costs, like your SDR department with three SDRs is costing you fucking $25,000 a month. Like it's just like what do you like? There's no way it's a profitable venture because it just doesn't work. I've just run seventh level and all this kind of stuff, and I was never ever happy with the way it was done ever. And so I was like, I'm gonna do it my way, and I've got this team and I've got a really good recruitment mechanism. And I've only had to fire one, and every single one of them has hit over $8,000 to $9,000 every single month. Um, we haven't had complaints. We've had good show up rates. Like, just the level of effort and activity and professionalism is super high. Even when like fucking leads are screaming at them, like they just take it really well because you know what, their life is hard. So like they're sitting in an air conditioned office, dialing on the phone, thinking this is the fucking greatest thing that's ever happened to them. Paid 11 times the average daily rate. So which means that they bring all their friends, all their family, and it's got a really good community, and we're doing like charitable works over there and stuff like that. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's the business that I kind of like see taking off. Sales sniper, I want to keep it relatively boutique, but like that one, fucking come one, come all. I don't give a shit what you do, mate. Like we just, I could have 5,000 people doing outbound dialing for 25,000 businesses. Like it doesn't like get more expensive the bigger I get. Like it just stays at the same level because I know all the costs are like fixed per agent, right? So you
Yeah,
know,
and you can cover the headcount pretty easily, right? Every time
yeah,
that
and
you
you
add more
can
people.
you can scale it up, scale it down. Um, so yeah, it's pretty good. And then businesses can sort of like I just think it's a much easier model, right? Because you take out the necessity for management, the reporting's way better. Like I could tell you the pickup rate per phone prefix. I could tell you the time of day that people answer the phone. So the reporting that we've got is incredible, and like no one else has it because the solution that I have is a minimum 1,000 seats, right? So like it's just not fit for anyone that's not an actual like what probably multi-billion-dollar company. Unless you're doing a few hundred million at least, it's just not viable. So like I'm building it, and so like yeah, and so like it's essentially giving an enterprise level solution to like the everyday business,
Mm, yeah,
right?
yeah, just making it more accessible to them as
Yeah,
well, right? And giving them the metrics to be able to see that. That's
yeah,
freaking really cool, man.
big deal.
Appreciate the share.
Yeah,
Yeah, that should be fun. I wanted to ask actually just off that because obviously you've got sniper and then you've got this long term play. For someone like yourself who's thinking about these big things, where do you normally get your inspiration from? Like, is there a particular mastermind that you're working with right now, or like how do you kind of stay creative in these ways?
oh man, I got tons of ideas. It's just kind of the way it is. Um, like I think masterminds are great. I've never used them for the education. I've always used them for like the networking. You know what I mean? I like I just like doing, and you see problems, and I don't know, I just have ideas, and then from there go like, I wonder if we could do that, and then just sort of have a crack. There's lots of problems. Like I've got a thing that's being built at the moment, which is like it's a calendar scanner. It'll be ready in like 3 weeks, I think. So basically, you install it into your calendar, right? like as a business. So, and it's an AI, like a proper like learning AI, and it's going to be like a $5,000 or $8,000 build, and then like $39 a month per calendar, and it will tell you your real time availability, the usage rates, the utilization rates, the show ups, the no shows, the risk, everything that's in the calendar. It'll tell you, and then from there, over time, it learns like when people no
When
show,
to schedule.
when they cancel,
Yeah. Okay.
like when your areas are. So once you've had it in your system for a few months, like it will start to just give you like, hey,
Optimal time.
your most optimal times are here, here, and here. So then
Yeah.
you can start to like put your team training in times where everyone no shows.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. And I've
That's
always
cool.
wanted it, and I've never had the time. And now that I'm not at seventh, like I've got the time to sort of develop some of these things that I've always wanted.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I've asked for people to develop them in the past, but like they just don't. And so I was like, fuck it. I've got money.
They got it. Now's the
I'll,
time to do
I'll use it.
it.
So yeah, man, that's like I've got a really
That's
cool
so cool.
company called Superluminal. They're like an amazing AI
Yeah.
software dev company. I'm working with them to develop that, so that'll be ready within a couple of weeks, I think. So
That's
that's gonna
so cool.
be that'll be a cool one, and that'll be one that like we can have as a good add-on for the call center, and also for
Yeah.
like for sales sniper clients, like we can use it as an add-on. It'll
Yeah.
be a really sticky software because like $39 a month or whatever it's going to be. It's like you have 30 people, if like especially if you have like a 10-man sales team,
Mm.
like because everyone's a contractor, right? So like you don't know how much time you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
This will give you some transparency around that.
yeah, and then like what also like I remember this one time at seventh, one of like the top producing sales reps like just went on holiday for a week and didn't tell anyone, so just turned his diary off. Fair enough, man. He's a contract. Do what the fuck he
Yeah.
wants, right?
Oh yeah.
But like we didn't know, and we kept the ad spend the same, and he was taking like 20% of the overall call volume,
Oh shit. Okay.
right? So it increased the cost per call by like
Mm.
50-60 bucks or something,
Yeah. Wow.
because like those people were bouncing off, so we were at like 100% capacity. And so I was like, shit, what's going on? Why are the calls so expensive? And then we looked, it's like, oh, because no one can fucking schedule. So then what you do is you have to buffer it out to like 6 days. Then what happens? Everyone fucking knows, right? So it's like, like at least if you have something that's giving you real time monitoring, because it scans the calendars all day, right? All day, constantly, and has a real time dashboard that gives you, this is how many discovery calls, whatever you call them, so many sales calls, this is how many, like how much white space you have, this is how much like unknown busy space you have, like these are the hours you have available, these are the ones that you don't have available. And then from there over time it just kind of like learns stuff, because there are patterns in there but we can't see them, like because there's like, I use a color coding system personally, but getting everyone to adopt that. But the problem is there's no software that will read the color coding system. It's not how it works. It doesn't reflect in everyone else's view of your calendar. It only reflects in your own personal one, right? So like I knew when my show up rates were good when I was a rep because I tracked all of that. And so then what I would do is I would like go, okay, I don't do sales calls here and here. I do my admin here and here because nobody ever fucking shows up, but like no one does it because they're idiots. And so like it's not something that you can really collectively do as a team. You need like you need it scanned all the time.
Yeah.
You have to
Because
hire.
the input from the reps might not be that good either, right? Not that as accurate when they're
Yeah, and
doing
so
it.
all we have to do is get them to like put the word no show in the calendar. That's it.
Mm. Yeah.
Right?
And
Like
then
that's
that'll sort it out.
it. We'll read it. And then it's like no show, show up, sale, next call booked, whatever. They just have to update that. And we can
Yeah.
probably link it up with the CRM and do the deconfliction for them. But the V1 will be like we give them like
This
a
is
name
what it
and
does.
attention. You know what I
Man,
mean?
that's cool.
Reads all that. And so then it will just give you a live dashboard of like show ups, no shows, cancellations, reschedules, white space, slot utilization spaces, all that kind of stuff. Like, and even you can break it down by ref and shit like that. So it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And it's like a proper AI like learning system. And then
Learning tool.
like take that and build that further and further. potentially into its own booking system.